Okay. This is how you calculate drops per minute from milliliters per hour. Okay. Milliliters per hour is generally used with the electronic devices, whereas manual is going to be drops per minute. Real important to remember to discern between those two. And always, when you're talking about manual drops per minute, tube factor is going to be the most important thing that you want to know, is how much drop factor of the tubing is. Okay? So let's look at another one here. Calculate your minutes. Drops per minute. If you have tubing that's 20 drops per milliliter, okay? So we know we've got 20 drops per milliliter, and we have 80 milliliters per hour. We got to convert that to minutes, so that now we have our minutes and our drops. So we can continue. We know we have everything that we need. We can multiply and divide out. Again, you can't have 0.6 of a drop, so you're gonna, that's 5 or more, so you're gonna go ahead and round up to 27 drops per minute. Okay. Okay, so let's practice a few of these. IV fluids infusing at 150 milliliters per hour. Drop factor is 15 drops per milliliter. Again, I'm gonna go ahead and give you these answers real quickly. The first one, you should get 38 drops per minute. Number one, 38 drops per minute. The second, you should be getting 18 drops per minute. And the last one, you should be getting 33 drops per minute. 33 drops per minute. So again, what do we need to know? Calculate infusion time for an IV that's being manually controlled. Can be done as long as the drip rate, how fast you want it, the volume of fluid, and the tubing factor is known. Really important information. Completion times are computed in the same manner. You have to take the current time and reduce the time that you factor that out for. So let's look at that. Okay? So calculate your infusion and completion times. We've already done that. In the other problems, we're just adding to this a little bit by giving the time. Okay? So we want, again, remember infusion time, we're going to regulate in hours. Okay? So what do we know about that so far? Well, first of all, we don't see an hour regulation in there. So we have to go ahead and make a conversion factor of that because we do have minutes. So 1 hour is 60 minutes. Now what do we know in minutes? Well, we know that 1 minute we have 42 drops per minute. Okay? And then we also know that there's 15 drops per milliliters. So that gives us that amount. And we had 1,000 milliliters. When you're looking at the problem, it's 1,000 milliliters to be infused. So how do we know we're done? Well, because we get rid of these factors and we're left with hours. So when you calculate that out, it's 5.95 hours. Now again, this is really important. When you're dealing with the hour part of the equation, you keep it rounded to the hundredths. Because this doesn't mean 95 seconds. We have to convert this partial hour to minutes. That's the second part of our equation. So we have 5 hours as a given. Okay, so now we need to take that 0.95 and convert it to minutes. We want minutes. So we know that there's 60 minutes in an hour, and we have 0.95 of an hour. And when you convert that out, you're going to get 58 minutes. So now we have the original 5 hours and the 58 minutes, and we have to add that to the current time. So your completion time, it was 0200, is going to be 5 hours and 58 minutes. That would make it 7:58. Okay? All right. Let's look at one more that we can practice here. Calculate the infusion and completion times for an IV that's infusing 36 drips per minute, 158 remaining. We got to know how much still in the bag. We have to know the drop factor of 60 drips per milliliter, and then we need to know the time since we're going to be looking at completion times. Again, we're talking infusing over an hour. We're going to take a regular conversion factor because we don't have hour in here anywhere. So 1 hour over 60 minutes, and we know that for every minute we're going to have a drip factor of 38 drops. Okay? And then we also know from the original equation that 60 drops per milliliter, and then we also had how many milliliters had to be infused. So now we're getting rid of milliliters, drops, minutes, and we're left with our hours. When we calculate that out, we have 4 hours and 7.17 hours. So we're keeping the 4 hours when we go to find out our time of completion, but we've got to convert this 0.17 to minutes. So we take our minutes, we know that there's 60 minutes in an hour, times your 0.17 hours. When you do the conversion, we're now in minutes. We're in minutes. So remember that we don't care about seconds when it comes to dripping drops. You can't count 0.2 of a minute, so we just round that to minutes. So then we go back and we have 4 hours, and now we can add our 10 minutes to the original time of 1:20 standard time or 13:20 military, and that gives you 17:30 military, 5:30 p.m. Military time is much easier when adding all these conversion factors because it's just straightforward adding of hours and minutes, which you have to do a little different thought process on standard time. However, you need to know that 17:30 is 5:30 standard time. You need to know your military times. Okay? Once again, go to the PowerPoint online because I've got to shorten this video time here. Let me go ahead and give you the answers to these, and please practice these at home. The answer number 1 should be 1444. Military time. So number 1 is 1444, which is 2:44 standard. Number 2 is 0854, so that would be 8:54 a.m. 0854. And number 3 is 1352, military time. 1352, which would be 1:52. What we're not going to go over is time tapes. If you look in your book, they show you how you can make, if you're doing manual drip factor, it's a good way to identify, is this flow going like it should? Calculating out the times and placing it on that IV bag so that you're sure that the patient's not getting too much or too little. But again, it's very, very rare that we do these type of manual calculations, so it's antiquated to go ahead and teach you all how to do that. But I think it's worthwhile just looking at. You never know, you may do a mission trip or something where you medical missions and have to do that. You have examples on page 238 and 240 that show you what those time tapes look like. That concludes chapter 13. Again, please work all your practice problems. This chapter is probably the hardest one that you've had. 4 different types of conversions that you have to learn to work with, so be sure that you're working all of these, and then I will be letting you know before next week when y'all come back to class on Monday. We'll let you know the open lab times where you can come. It'll be a live video with me, and we'll work through some of those problems. Have a great day.